Now, remember, in some other results last week, the CEO of Standard Bank warned that should there be a complete collapse of the power grid in South Africa, the consequences would be devastating. Even though Sim Tshabalala explained that the bank believes there's a low probability of a total blackout, some other companies are reporting that they are in fact preparing for the possibility of a total grid collapse in South Africa. Let's discuss with SABC News Economics Editor Tshepo Mongoai, who joins us every Monday. Great to have you with us. What are corporate leaders saying about this possibility?
Well, we do know that the reinsurers, they've made it very clear that they will no longer be covering risk as a result of the grid collapse, and that prompted clients, local insurance companies in the main, to communicate that with you and I, to say that in the event of that grid collapse, we will not get any cover. And that's basically because of the experience that they've had looking at all the claims that they have received because of load shedding. And from that they could actually make a sense that it would actually be very risky for the local insurance industry to cover for such eventuality. Remember, we don't have a scenario in terms of exactly what would happen. But I think every business would actually want to ensure that they protect their main engines of their business should that happen. And we know that everything revolves around electricity. We can talk about the payment system, something as basic as that. If you go to
telecoms, phoning people,
absolutely, and without those basic infrastructure, you will not be able to do business. But there are those businesses who are thinking out of the box to see that they do business with the rest of the world, and that communication would be quite essential to maintain should that happen. Yes, we are told that, of course, the possibility of that happening, it's quite small, but you never know, especially with the electricity situation in the country. And we do know that a government will actually try to make sure that people don't panic, because we know that if that happens, of course, it's got a whole lot of other consequences in the economy and our value chain.
Yeah, and people talking about civil unrest. So the insurers can protect themselves, and that means that the actuaries do believe it's a possible risk if they're actually writing this in and taking all these precautions. The big companies like the banks, not much they can do. But like you say, they have been exposing themselves to other markets, etc., for years anyway.
No, absolutely. I mean, the banks are by nature, of course, the systems that they use, the clearing, the payment system, are quite international. So it is important that they protect some segment of their banking systems. Many of our banking systems, banking companies do business in other jurisdiction, and perhaps it's important to make sure that if the local activities can be affected, but they keep other jurisdiction running, and that would in a way cushion their business from such.
Well, what's really interesting, Tshepo, is the big companies, despite the drop in growth that we saw at the end of last year, despite what we're seeing across the economy, are producing good results. But they have the strength to do that. I guess it's the worry about the little guys that remains.
Well, you look at the JSE overall share index, the way it's been moving in recent months, despite everything else that's been said about South Africa and the challenges, you can tell that international investors believe in what local corporates are doing. They believe that they can actually be able to weather the storm. They are quite innovative, they are quite creative. Despite many challenges that they are facing, they can actually protect the bottom line. They will make sure that investor value, shareholder value, indeed is protected for quite some time. So I'll be very worried if I start to see many of our corporates starting to slump in terms of their profitability. Then that would spell really, really bad news.
Yeah.
But also remember, there's a lot of concentration in the market. yes, there is competition, but it's quite concentrated among very few dominant players, and in a way that protect them, and they are able to come up with different ways to play in the market to ensure that indeed their businesses remain robust and they continue to return value to shareholders as they are. I mean, past 2 weeks we've seen companies reporting very strong numbers in the main, despite the fact that they are complaining and said, well, the economic environment is actually presenting a lot of challenges, but yeah, we're making money.
Yeah, as it's always said, how wonderfully well would they be doing if there wasn't blackouts, if there wasn't load shedding. But we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for that update. SABC News Economics Editor Tshepo Mongoai.